lot of people are definitely, if we can line them up outside of your offices, the people that have contacted us, it probably wrap around the entire city of Austin. But
yep, I think you're right. I understand.
You are hearing from them too. But if you can, I guess the first off, what are your capacity numbers as far as your website goes today?
Well, we demonstrated a new high last night. We made changes, significant changes. Last night, we took over 98,000 claims. Only about 3,000, I shouldn't say last night, I'm sorry, all of yesterday. Only about 3,000, 3,500 were on the phone. The rest were online. The previous day, that number was 70. It had been the high, with about the same breakdown of about 3,000 on the phone and the rest online. The previous day was 68. So it's progressing upward. So we believe our capacity is getting even better. We're working with Deloitte and Touche right now, Deloitte, to help us design some new web pages for unemployment insurance benefits that'll be available soon, so that more people can get to us even.
And as far as your, I know you all have contracted with AT&T, I assume, to increase the server, the circuitry for your the number of calls you could take in. How many calls can you take at one time right now?
It's kind of hard to tell because we've added more people. We had about 400 people taking calls originally. When all this started, we immediately moved 200 over. And those were tax auditors that completely understood unemployment insurance. We have since then, the next phase was about another 75 to 100, and then we're moving another 100 from inside TWC, and then we're planning on about another 300 in about a week from inside TWC. Our system can continue to expand up to a point. I've asked the guys that run our ACD, our automated call distribution system, how many we can take, and they think that we can probably add several more people. We can get above 1,000, and at that point we just hit a hardware capacity. So it's kind of hard. I'm not trying to be evasive, but it's kind of hard to say how many calls we can take. I will tell you that we did contract with AT&T for additional capacity. That went in day before yesterday or yesterday, and they added 400 lines. So we already probably had 600 plus lines, maybe more than that, and they've added another 400 lines.
Gotcha. And what we're hearing from, and I'm sure you may be aware, you may not be aware, but I want to give you a few scenarios that people are finding trouble with online, that they're faced with having to call and can't get through. The people who have moved to Texas, who have never had TWC history, never filed for unemployment, they get to a point on the website, they have to call in, and then they're stuck and can't get through for a couple of weeks. People who have had unemployment history in Texas, maybe decades ago, their information's in the system, but they're unable to apply because of that existing information. They are forced to call. There are the PIN number issues that people are still having. Once they do apply on the website, they get to the prompt to enter a PIN number, then they're forced to call. Some haven't gotten through in weeks. Right. People who have moved since their last unemployment filing, they have a new address, new information, they're also forced to call. They can't get through. Is there any way at all to change that website where people can do this strictly online and not be required to call you all?
We're actually looking at a couple of things. First of all, we're looking at improvements to our online system to eliminate some of that. Unfortunately, some of those checks that we have there, and I say checks, the checks and balances that we have there to prevent fraud, so that and we're getting tangled up in it. We're going to try to figure out how to overcome those without jeopardizing the claimant's data. So we are looking at ways. There are ways, and we are looking at ways to address as much as we can online. The other thing that we're doing with regard to the volume is we're probably going to be rolling out today or Monday of next week an ask of all of our fellow Texans, so to speak, to maybe slot when you call in to get service based on the first digit of your area code of your phone number. So maybe we're trying to control the volume of the people that are calling. I understand the frustration. I would be very frustrated, and I do get frustrated when I call in and I can't get through, but I can understand here you're actually calling in to get money that you need to pay bills, to buy supplies, to support your family until your work comes back. You don't want to be on unemployment. You want to be working. You were happy working until all this happened through no fault of your own, through no fault of your business. We completely understand that. So that's why we're thinking if we can ask our neighbors, the people that we're serving, to work with us a little bit, we might be able to control that volume and then get to the calls a whole lot more efficiently. Also, I know people are calling and calling and calling, but every time they call back, that takes a slot. And we don't quite know how to control that. That just, it's human nature to get a busy signal, hang up, call again, get a busy signal, hang up, call again, finally get to somebody, but then may not be ready or something like that for actually everything that you need. But I guess the short answer to your question is we are looking at ways to push as much as we can online. We're looking at ways to enhance the number of people and the number of lines that we have that are available to people calling in, and the number of people that we have taking calls, addressing those calls. And then we're also looking at maybe asking for a little help from our customers, the people that we serve, to maybe follow this proposed mechanism. It's only going to be a voluntary thing, to maybe call at the designated date and time for the first digit of your telephone area code.
Well, I guess right now we're somewhere between 3 weeks to a month of people beginning to lose their jobs and then turning to you all to file that unemployment. The TWC, part of your job and mission is you forecast the job market. You provide data. You have people who analyze, look at what is happening to anticipate claims, perhaps, so we don't have this massive backlog. What did your agency do leading up to this to anticipate this tidal wave that was coming, that now 3 weeks into this, it's still at a place where the agency is not able to handle the capacity of the people coming to you all for help?
Right. It's frustrating to us because we had plans and we successfully handled other disasters, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Ike, fires, the massive fires that we had here in Central Texas several years back, ice storms in the Panhandle and flooding in the Valley. None of those plans anticipated, one, the magnitude and volume, and two, the speed that it happened. If you think about it, you're absolutely right. It's been at this pace for about 3 weeks now. Here's an anecdotal story. Is at the beginning of the month, towards the beginning of March, we had a commission meeting. We have commission meetings on Tuesday. Our unemployment insurance director was providing an update to the commission, and he said he had seen an uptick in the number of claims being filed. It was 3,000 the week before, and it had jumped to 9,000, and we were projecting a significant increase, but we weren't sure what that significant increase was. The very next day, it jumped to 16, and then continued to ramp up significantly every day after that. And these are the claims that we were receiving when people were still able to file claims very efficiently. That same time is when South by Southwest was canceled, and then the rodeo in Austin was canceled, the Houston rodeo was canceled, and then shortly after that, and I'm not criticizing, I think those were good decisions, but none of those things were anticipated by anyone. I don't think H-E-B, Walmart, Randall's here in Austin anticipated the influx of people that would suddenly hit them and wipe their shelves out. And the same thing is true with us. While we had plans in place to address disasters successfully, plans that had been successful, none of them anticipated the magnitude of what we're experiencing. March 26, 1.7 million calls. unprecedented in any of our history. Our previous high was 60,000 calls in January of this year. And keep in mind, January is the end of a calendar year and the end of a quarter, a tax quarter for us. And we thought a high was significant. Accenture, by the way, and I'm sorry, a little bit more on anticipating this. Accenture built that bot for us, Larry, our chat bot. Took them 3 days to do it. I mean, they did it under extreme circumstances, working with our IT staff, but they banged out that bot in 3 days. They built it to handle the call volumes or chat volumes that they expected. They had several private bots that they had successfully built. Their previous high, bot with the previous high transactions was for a communications company, a large national communications company. So it's a national bot. And it was a high of, that bot experienced 16 interactions or inquiries a day. When Larry came on board, it was a soft launch. We didn't tell anybody. It started Monday of this week. In 5.5 hours, he had already dealt with 33,000 inquiries. He was designed for 2,000 concurrent users, and in an hour and a half, he was up to 6,000 concurrent users. So we had to bring it down. They went back and hardened it. I mentioned that story because it's another example of just the unexpected volumes that we're seeing. So we thought we had good plans in place, and we do have good plans in place, but not for this. Now we're rewriting the book, completely rewriting the book. The one thing that I will give the staff credit for, those call center staff initially, and then the ones that we've added, they're working 72 hours a week to answer. We haven't gone to a shift. We haven't cut back so that they stay to 40 hours a week. They're working 72 hours a week right now. When I say that we're open 8 to 6, Monday through Saturday, it's with that staff. And as we continue to add staff, those people are working those hours. Getting these outside call centers on board is going to help us maybe give them a little bit of time relief, give our staff a little bit of time relief. Because you can only work, and I know you probably during big stories you probably work long hours. You can only work so many days of long hours or weeks of long hours before you get burned out. And we don't want to burn out our staff because we need them more now than ever.
Yeah. This isn't less of a question here, but just is the best time to try online during those off hours, like overnight, early morning?
The online, we're finding the best time to access us online with the current system. Keep in mind, we're going to be making modifications to broaden accessibility, not accessibility, but availability. Best time right now is about 10 to 8, with the optimum time, absolute optimum time, peak time being 12 to 5. Okay. 12 midnight to 5 a.m.
They're wondering why, at this point in time, at least because most of the problems we've encountered come from people who can't get through on the phone. They've tried the online portals, can't get through on the phone. They're asking why not a 24/7 operation at this point in time, to make sure that because people can't get through online, that they can at least get through to a human. And all they want to know is, because as the weeks wane on and the days go by, they are not getting any income. They're depending on you all. Do you have any plans to move this to a 24/7 operation to try to get these numbers down?
Yes, sir, we do. For the call centers, bringing on board the 2 outside call centers, moving more people from our staff. And by the way, we have a couple of other state agencies that have volunteered staff. We're not sure that we can use them in the call center because if you think about it, we have a lot of very sensitive data. We have social security numbers, places that you've worked, income that you've made, home addresses, contact information. So we're protective of our data. But getting these other agencies to help us will allow us to free up our staff that have all gone through background checks and everything and put more of them on there. We have thought about, and we will expand our hours of operation, bringing these 2 outside call centers on board, and then possibly adding a third one if we need to. Will let us expand our hours of operation. The one thing we bump into is behind it all is an old system that was built back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's running on a mainframe computer. And yes, we still have a mainframe computer. The legislature had appropriated, and we had asked for, and we'd gotten support from the legislature and the governor to replace that system. We got a significant amount of money to do it. We'd gone through the procurement process. We were in the middle of contract negotiations when all of this happened. That's kind of been suspended. That effort, by the way, was going to take a couple of years. So even if we signed the contract and started, we wouldn't see the fruits of that for several years. But the reason I mention that is that system needs to, at some point, get all those records reconciled, making sure that all the payments are covered by money. That's the one kind of delimiter to us, to a true 7x24, but working with the private sector and our data center, DIR and the state data center and our own IT staff, we're trying to figure out how to work around that so that ultimately we can get to 1, 7 days a week, which should happen very soon, and 2, 24 hours a day, or as close to 24 hours a day as we can. Maybe, not 24 hours a day, maybe 20 hours a day or 18 hours a day or something like that, and still give us time to let those systems reconcile and run all the programs that they need to run to clean up the day's processing and be ready for the next day.
And I wanted to just show you a short video of just a couple of women who we've talked to, so you could kind of see firsthand. They wanted to speak directly to you about what's going on. And let me just play this for you here.
Just today, I called the number 93 times, and I've never gotten an answer. I get fast, busy signals, I get recordings, I get various things that make me hopeful they're going to answer the phone, and they never answer the phone. I can tell you right there, it's 93. Not counting the 60 or 70 yesterday and the 60 or 70 the day before. It's constant. I keep my phone on me, and all I do is call.
So you're calling every minute.
I'm constantly calling.
This is my full-time job now, is to call the unemployment. And this is just from the last 2 days. I've made over probably 200 calls.
And it's obvious that the agency cannot handle the number of people trying to get help.
No, and I understand that, but there has to be a better way. There has to be another way.
If you could get the head of the Texas Workforce Commission right here on this porch today, what would you tell him?
I would say that he needs to update that website, because I think that's the key to this. If he updates the website where we can get on and make the changes of whatever we need to make without having to call, I think that's going to make the job for them a lot easier.
It's not fair. We're all scared enough. And this is just adding fuel to the fire.
This is doing a disservice to Texas.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll show you that just so you can hear firsthand. And I know you're feeling the cause, but what can you say to these people who are desperately trying to get through and whose financial futures hang in the balance of the Workforce Commission?
Well, the first thing I can say is I completely understand the situation that they're in, and it is our focus. It's the reason that I'm actually in the office every day, and we have staff still in the call centers, and staff, our IT staff, working almost 7x24. We understand the value of the agency, the value that the agency has generally, but especially now. We completely understand that. We're not talking about someone just needing money. We understand that we're a lifeline. These are individuals that are concerned, that are frustrated, that are scared. And I've talked to people, by the way, on the phone. We completely understand that. I don't think anyone more than us is as frustrated as us, because we know we can help people when we get to them. But we need to be able to get to them, and they're trying to get to us, and this barrier that is between us and them is this volume that we're looking to address. So we are making, to the point of the first individual, we are looking to make enhancements and improvements to our website, because the majority of people that file a claim file it online. We are looking, to the point of the second individual, we are looking to enhance the number of people by adding these call centers. We have 4 call centers around the state, by the way. We're adding people to those call centers. We're also hiring. By the way, I forgot to mention, we're also got an emergency hire for 100 temporary call center staff. And then the frustration that we get is, it happened to us, I want to say about a week ago. 23 brand new employees showed up at our call center. One of our call centers in North Texas walked in, and several of them walked out saying, "Nah, I don't want to be in a call center environment. I don't feel, from a health perspective, that it's safe." So what we're doing there is we're trying to have our call center employees, more of them work from home, so that then we have more space, social distancing or physical distancing, in the physical call centers. Because new employees, as you can understand, we can't start them at home. They need, if you're going to be answering questions, we want you to answer the questions right. And we need to have a supervisor listening in on what you're saying. Make sure you're not telling somebody information that's wrong, that's going to adversely affect them. So to the second point, we're adding more people. We're adding more phone lines. We're adding more call centers. We're going to continue to do what we need to do to specifically address those 2 things. And then I mentioned it earlier, we're going to see if our neighbors, if our customers will help us by maybe self-metering based on a schedule that we put out there based on the first digit of their area code. And when we analyze the calls, because we can tell where the calls are coming from, both the calls that are answered and the calls that go unanswered, they get a busy signal. We can tell where those calls are coming from, and we can divide out the area codes so that about 1/4 of the state gets served during every period of time that we're going to set up. And if we can do that, then that reduces the volume coming into those call centers by 3/4 for that particular time period. And if you think about it, then we're back to a manageable number that we can address at that time. But we understand, and we are frustrated as well, because we know we can help people when we get to them, whether it's electronically or whether it's on the phone, and we want to help them, and we will help them. We appreciate the frustration. We appreciate the patience. We get a lot of people that have also called, hundreds of times and get through, and while they're frustrated, they're appreciative, because I will say this as a compliment to our call center staff, not just the ones that are always on the call center, but the new ones. They're taking an unprecedented number of calls, working 72 hours, and that's down to a 30-minute lunch, and you're not going to go to lunch anywhere, so you're going to be in the same building. And they're not, they're kind of taking the brunt, and then getting the caller to understand and calm down. Now, I don't mean calm down in a negative sense, but understand, I'm here to help you. I'm going to help you. And then when we get them the help, they're satisfied, and we have a happy customer. The thing is, we need to have more happy customers, and we're trying to get to more of our customers to make them happy customers, because we know, like I said, it's not just about the money. It's actually a lifeline that we know we're providing during these hard times.
Again, we're 3 weeks, 4 weeks, roughly a month, just short of a month into this. And I know you're there. You're trying to put all the pieces in place. How do you anticipate? Nobody saw this, 2 months out, that we were going to be in this position. So, looking at it from that light, though, I know that you're trying to handle a lot of things at this point, but you see the people who are on the outside trying to get in, just trying to get that application filed so they can sit back and take a break, knowing that there's going to be some relief coming soon. But as a director, do you take any personal responsibility in where this is right now, where you are a month in, and the people pleading for help from this agency who just can't get through right now?
Of course I do. I absolutely do. Any executive director, but especially an executive director of this agency, this situation, of course I take personal responsibility for it. I take personal responsibility for asking my staff to work 72 hours a week with a 30-minute lunch, and still go into the office when they're, our essential staff still go into the office to work those call centers. That's my personal responsibility. The livelihood of the individuals that are depending on us, that haven't been able to get through yet, and the ones that did get through, the ones that didn't get through, absolutely, of course I do. If I could have if I could go back in time knowing what I know now, of course we would have changed things. But I don't think, I'm sure the head of HEB or Walmart would have said the exact same thing. You know, if I know now what I knew then, I would have stocked up on toilet paper and canned goods and cleaning supplies. I think the hospitals would have said, I would have stocked up on face masks and ventilators. And those administrators, those business owners, just like me, should probably be taking this personal responsibility for this. Ultimately, as Harry Truman said, the buck stops here, the buck stops on this desk, and I know that, which is why I'm also the agency and I are taking progressive steps to address those things. When I say we executed a contract for that call center, the first call center, we did it in 2 days. Is unprecedented in state government, period. And the governor supported us by suspending procurement, the normal procurement requirements, but we did that in 2 days. When we got with Deloitte to help us redesign our webpage, we did that in days. And now we're working with our vendor partners. We're working with the Department of Information and Resources, who runs the state data center, and all of our actions. A long time is a couple of days. For us, our actions are hours now. It's hours in a day. A couple of days is too long, and we don't even talk in terms of weeks and months on the things that we can do. One thing I want to express, and I can't express enough the volume, and I know you understand it, and I know the callers understand it, but they're still frustrated. The last 6 weeks that ended March 31st, we took more claims in that 6-week period, which would have included the 4 weeks of March, than we did in all of 2019. In the last week of March, we took more claims than we did in January and February of this year, in that 1 week. On Friday of last week, just 1 day, we took more claims than we did the previous week. So it's getting better. I know it's not evident to people, but last night or yesterday, we took over 98,000 claims. Previous day, 70,000 claims. Previous day, 68,000 claims. So you can see that the trajectory is upward with the improvements that we're making. It's just that there are, unfortunately, and this is my description, and I've shared it with staff, we are dealing with 3 waves of individuals that desperately need help. Wave 1 are the individuals that were initially affected by COVID-19, the restaurant workers, the entertainment business, the hospitality business. And then added to that wave are the retailers, when shops started closing down and businesses started closing down, and those business owners. Wave 2 are the oil field workers. Price of a barrel of oil is great for the price of a gallon of gas, not good for the economy. And those companies are starting to shut down, and those workers are going to be coming to us for unemployment insurance benefits. They're not even affected by COVID-19 necessarily. And then the third wave is kind of an odd wave in that the CARES Act that was signed by the president a week ago is helping Americans, and we're glad that it's helping Americans, and we're going to add the help that it provides to us to help Americans to the arsenal that we have. But that's a whole new group of people coming in, self-employed and contract employees and nonprofits that have really never been eligible for unemployment insurance before are now eligible. And this is the system that they've got to come to get that assistance. Individuals whose benefits expired, you get up to 26 weeks in benefits. Individuals whose benefits expired, the CARES Act extended their benefits by 13 weeks, regardless of whether it was COVID affected, their furlough was COVID affected or not. That's another group of people that will be coming to us. And then the extra $600 a week for the people that get the benefit. They don't have to do anything. You're going to get it automatically, but people will still call to verify. Am I going to get the $600? What do I need to get the $600? And that clogs the system, which is why we set up the chat bot. We're hoping more people go online, as the first interviewee indicated. We're hoping more people go online because we're going to answer your some of your questions there. Ultimately, we're going to do more to get you to address some of these things there. We'll still, unfortunately, have some people that still need to deal with a person because they've got a complicated situation, or they maybe don't normally qualify for unemployment insurance, but under the CARES Act, they do qualify, but we need some additional information. But we understand, I understand, I'm not going to say we, but I will say that all the employees at this agency, 4,650, understand what's going on and the impact that it's having on our neighbors and our role in that. But I understand and do understand that I'm accountable, and I do take responsibility for that. And we're doing everything we can to address that.